This LG 39-inch Ultra Gear completely changed how I think about ultrawide monitors, but not in the way you would expect. I've been using this $900 curved OLED as my daily driver for 3 months, and there's one thing about it that might be a deal breaker for most people. But before I reveal that, let me show you what this thing can actually do. 39-21:9 ultrawide format, 800R curved OLED panel, WQHD resolution, 240Hz refresh rate with 0.03 ms response time, 94 ppi pixel density, 98.5% DCI P3 color gamut coverage, and being OLED, we expect exceptional contrast ratios. But there's more to the story than just specs on paper. The design is clean and gaming focused. You've got the signature Ultra Gear aesthetic with RGB lighting on the back, though it's subtle enough for professional environments. The 800R curve looks aggressive, but we'll see how it performs in real-world use. Connectivity-wise, you get 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, 1 DisplayPort 1.4, and a few USB ports. No USB-C though, which is a bit disappointing for a monitor at this price point. When we see Ultra Gear, we know we are looking at equipment engineered with gaming in mind. So how does this curved OLED handle gaming? Motion is incredibly smooth thanks to that 0.03 response time at 240 Hz refresh rate. The OLED technology shines in the contrast department, delivering true blacks across the board and creating crisp, vibrant images. I tested this with everything from competitive FPS games to cinematic single-player experiences. In Cyberpunk 2077, the HDR implementation really makes those neon-lit night city streets pop. So whether you are on PC with a high-end graphics card or console gaming with a PS5 or Xbox Series X, this monitor delivers. Console support is excellent, you get 120Hz, VRR and HDR support. The 21:9 aspect ratio means no black bars on the sides. The 800R curve really comes into its own during gaming. It wraps around your field of vision naturally, making racing games and flight simulators incredibly immersive. Your peripheral vision catches the edges of the screen without having to turn your head. But here's something interesting. I ran some frame rate tests with my RTX 4090 setup, and I was hitting pretty decent frame rates with ray tracing maxed, and as well as almost 300 FPS in other competitive games. Moving on to content consumption, this is where the 21:9 aspect ratio should really shine. Movies shot in this format will fill the entire screen without those black bars you get on 16:9 displays. It's genuinely cinematic. The OLED's perfect blacks make dark scenes in movies like Dune or Blade Runner absolutely stunning. But here's a question. How does the 800R curve affect movie watching? Honestly, it takes some getting used to. If you are sitting at the optimal distance, about 800 centimeters away, it feels natural. But if you lean back or watch from an angle, the curve becomes more noticeable and can be distracting. HDR performance is solid, though not groundbreaking. However, if you are coming from an high-end OLED TV, you might notice it's not quite as bright in HDR highlights. Now, if you've been following my videos from my 3D ArchViz channel, you know a big part of my work involves 3D modeling and rendering. I was genuinely curious to see how I would adapt coming from a dual screen setup. My main monitor was an InnoCN 32-inch 4K with 140 ppi to this single ultra-wide setup. The transition has been interesting. Color representation on this LG Ultra Gear is pretty accurate. It covers 98.5% of DCI P3, which is excellent for creative work, but it's a curvature and pixel density that has presented challenges. As you can see here, what should be perfect straight lines in my 3D models appeared curved due to the screen's curvature. This makes precision modeling more challenging. I find myself constantly second-guessing whether lines are actually straight or if it's just a screen distortion. The bigger issue for me has been text clarity. Coming from 140 ppi down to 94 ppi, it's quite noticeable. It's not unreadable by any means, but it's clearly an inferior experience for text-heavy work, document work, or even reading emails feels less crisp. That said, the ultra-wide format does offer advantages. I can have my 3D modeling software open alongside reference images, material libraries, and render previews all on one screen. The workflow benefits are real, even if the text clarity isn't ideal. The resolution gives you plenty of screen real estate. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: OLED burn-in. This monitor includes several protection features: pixel shifting, automatic brightness limiting, and a screensaver that kicks in during idle periods. I've been using this for several weeks now, including some pretty intensive gaming sessions with static HUD elements, and I haven't seen any signs of burn-in. But this is definitely something to consider for long-term use, especially if you do a lot of productivity work with static elements. The stand is solid and offers good adjustability, height, tilt, and swivel. The cable management is decent, though with a monitor this wide, you'll want to plan your desk setup carefully. So, after several weeks of testing, is the $900 price tag justified for this monitor? If gaming is your primary use case, then absolutely yes. This monitor was clearly built for gaming, and it delivers flawlessly on that front. The combination of OLED contrast, 240Hz refresh rate, and that immersive curve creates an exceptional gaming experience. You get that competitive edge you are always looking for, plus the visual fidelity that makes single-player games truly cinematic. For movies and content consumption, it's more nuanced. When you have content that matches the 21:9 aspect ratio, it's fantastic. But with the shift toward IMAX and 16:9 content, you might get better value from a larger OLED TV for pure entertainment. For work and productivity, at least in my specific use case, this isn't the optimal choice. The 800R curve creates distortion issues for precision work, and the 94 pixel density feels like a step backwards from higher resolution displays. But here's the thing: if you are someone who games primarily, but also needs a single monitor setup for everything else, this could be the perfect compromise. The ultra-wide format is generally useful for multitasking, and the OLED quality is undeniable. In the end, this monitor is going back to LG, but I'll genuinely miss those gaming sessions. It's a specialized tool that excels in its intended purpose, gaming, while making some compromises in other areas. So what's your experience with ultra-wide OLED monitors? Are you willing to trade some productivity features for that gaming performance? Let me know in the comments below. If this review helped you make a decision, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to see more monitor reviews or have suggestions for what I should test next, drop those in the comments too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.